Hi friends, and welcome to my channel, Wrestling with Books. My name is Nina, and here I just like to talk about books. I am a book lover. I love to hear other people talk about books. I love to read about books. I love when I go to sit down to read, I end up just looking up more books. I'm just all about the books. So hopefully you are too, and we can find some books we have in common or discover new ones together here. That is my cat Buster, and we are going to be doing the Thanksgiving book tag today. I am all about the seasonal book tags as I kind of feel things out on this booktube channel. I have another channel, Wrestling with Disney, where I talk about all kind of like the nerdy things you see behind me here. That's Buster shaking the camera. And this year we're going to be doing Vlogmas, so I will have a video up every day on one of those two channels from December 1st until Christmas Eve. So that is something you can look forward to, but before we get to Vlogmas, we have to get to Thanksgiving. The underrated superstar of the season, Thanksgiving. Oh, it's really like a holiday for mashed potatoes, if you ask me. I am all about that. That is it, and the sides, but we're bringing in books to Thanksgiving today, guys, okay? We're bringing in books. I took some notes. I don't always take notes, but for this one, I thought I would take notes. And this tag was originally done by Fangirlcity, but I had discovered this from the channel Bookables, and now I am here bringing it to you. We've come full circle. So the first question, and it's kind of like, you know, the first part of your meal for Thanksgiving is bread. What book is purely fluff and has no real plot line? So I picked, it's not necessarily this book in general, but this type of book, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but I picked Wasted Words by Stacey Hart, which was published in 2016. I liked this book. It is that genre that I find kind of feel good and fluffy, of those chick lit or rom-com stories. So that's what I mean by calling it fluff, because there is a story to it. It's its retelling of Emma, so Cam kind of matches everybody up, and she does not believe that her roommate Tyler could ever be matched up with her, even though he is like the perfect guy. She feels unworthy of that, and of course they are perfect for each other and end up getting together. But what's also fun about this book is that they have this bar they both work at that's a bar and library and comic shop called Wasted Words, and that really just makes it worth it all in itself for that fantastic idea. The next prompt is Turkey. What is a book that made you want to fall asleep? Oh, and that's not always a bad thing when a book makes you fall asleep. Sometimes it's just because you're reading at night, you know? I read in bed, the lights are out, the Kindle's on. But for this prompt, I am picking Lost in the Neverwood by Aiden Thomas. This is, I wouldn't necessarily say a Peter Pan retelling, but it is a telling kind of what would happen after, you know, they go to Neverland. And, you know, what happens if Wendy is home and her brothers aren't. And what happens if Wendy can't exactly remember everything, or she can remember and nobody else can. So there are different elements going on here, and it sounded like, wow, like I love this concept. I want to see what happens, but it was a swing and a miss for me, swing and a miss. And I love Aiden Thomas's other work, Cemetery Boys. So this, for me personally, was slow and sleepy, but as you heard, that premise is incredible. Don't not pick that up. I think you might like it. Next is Gravy. What book made the whole series worth reading? You know, when you have an excellent book in the series and it's so good, you're like, yep, it was all worth it for that. It's all worth it for that gravy. So the Bridget Jones books are worth it anyway to me, but let me tell you, Bridget Jones and the Edge of Reason. Okay, that was published in, gosh, 1999. So I did not read it when it came out. I'm just saying. was in like I was in 6th grade, okay? I was in 6th grade. Anyway, when I did read it, I was at my first job. It was for a bill collection service, and you were allowed to read while you work. Sometimes the phones were slow and whatnot. And that was a book I read there. And there is a scene where Bridget Jones interviews the actor Colin Firth. And it is laugh out loud funny. Like, this scene made the whole series worth it for me. I have read this book more than once because of that scene. It just cracks me up. And it's so much funnier than the film. So I highly recommend checking it out. The next prompt is stuffing. What book is full of action sequences? And I am picking Supernova by Marissa Meyer. Supernova is part of the Renegade series, and wow, there is so much action in it. So Renegades tells a story about Gatlin City, which has these renegades who are superheroes. They're people who have been given a special ability, whether it's through an experience or at birth, or all these different ways you can kind of get these powers, but not everybody has them. The renegades who has them are special, and not every power means you're worthy of being a renegade. And then there also are the anarchists, who are kind of like the cat is trying to get the lights. No, honey. You couldn't bear if that happened to you, like in Christmas Vacation, right? They're like the villains, they're the bad guys, and Nova is an anarchist. We follow her as she goes undercover as a renegade. And in this third book, it's kind of like when everything from the two sides comes to a head. There was so much action that I was like, it feels like this is the end, but I was only halfway through and it just kept going up and up and up and up. It was fantastic. I loved it. I loved it. So definitely picking that for stuffing. Next is my favorite, mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes. That from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Uncle Phil like daydreams about mashed potatoes, and he says it like that. He goes, mashed potatoes. And my sister and I have been saying it ever since. Okay, a book that looked good and then wasn't. First off, I don't know how that relates to mashed potatoes, because even bad mashed potatoes are good to me, but that's me. But for this book, I'm picking The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. It's about Rin. She is a war orphan, and she takes this exam where only the Empire's most talented, you know, if they pass, get to be a part of the academies, and she passes. And it deals with magic and fighting and war, and it was too intense and heavy for me. So I wanted to love The Poppy War. It had elements I really love with like a teacher-student and some found family, even in magic, but it was too much for me. But still a really great story. Ooh, Cranberries, which story had the sweetest romance? And actually, okay, I'm picking a Star Wars book for this. It is Dark Disciple by Christy Golden. Okay, this was published 2015, right? And we have Voss, who is a Jedi Knight, and we have Ventress, who is a former Sith, would you say a sympathizer? She is a Sith acolyte, okay, in Ventress. So the two of them come together to stop Count Dooku and maybe fall in love on the way. It's fantastic. The story is that this whole storyline was going to be for the Clone Wars and never came to be, and became this story instead. It is so fantastic. One of my favorite Star Wars books reads. You don't have to know these characters ahead of time. You don't have to know anything. You just have to care about love. You don't have to know Count Dooku. Really, it's true, because I don't watch the Clone Wars, so I'm not as familiar with Quinlan Vos and Ventress. Is it Quinlan even? See, I'm gonna check. Yep. Okay, so you can read this if it sounds interesting to you, and if the Star Wars world is even something you wanted to start to get into. Ooh, next is corn. What is the corniest book you've ever read? And Debbie May Comer, I love your girl, but some of your standalones are freaking corny, especially the holiday ones. The good news is you can get them done really quick, but they're corny. They're corny. If you're like, I need a really corny, wholesome holiday read, oven's ready. You can. I was preheating it. I'm not like burning turkey or anything. You should read some Debbie May Comer, and this particular book I picked was called The 12 Days of Christmas. It is about a neighbor who feels that her neighbor is a bit of a Scrooge, so she kills him with kindness over the 12 days. Oh, like my teeth hurt just thinking about her. She was so sweet. Next is Green Beans. What is a book that is too long and needs to be trimmed? So I picked the most recent Game of Thrones series. You could pick any of them. A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. His books, you know, they're first off, they are long. Okay, they are long, but often with these character perspectives ones, you have characters you're not into, and you're like, could you just cut all of them out? I know my brother, I think, used to feel that way with Catelyn's POV chapters. I can't, it's been so long that I can't think of whose chapters I really didn't like. I don't think I liked Sansa's, especially when then she becomes Jane. Yeah, that whole, all that, I could be like, let's just take it out. Let's just take it out. The next prompt is pumpkin pie. What book do you read to get out of a reading slump? And it actually is Harry Potter. When I can't read, I have the Kindle of that, and I'll just turn to that. Sometimes I just need, it's just like a cozy blanket, you know? Like sometimes I just need Harry Potter. It just reminds me of really good feelings. It does, it does. And the last prompt is the dog or cat. What's your favorite Thanksgiving food that you would steal from the table? So I don't think it's gonna be any surprise to anybody. Say it with me, mashed potatoes. So let me know if you have any Thanksgiving tradition. Could you tell I'm just coming up? Let me know. Really what I want to know, do you have any good mashed potato recipes? Where were the best mashed potatoes you ever had in your life? I know when I go to like a steakhouse and you get those mashed potatoes, they're really good, but sometimes like Boston Market, classic. Classic. My husband loves to get the Bob Evans mashed potatoes, but definitely like the whole month of November, that's when I make a lot of homemade mashed potatoes leading up to Thanksgiving to make sure that they are going to be ready for Thanksgiving dinner. It's just going to be my husband and I and my brother this year, but mashed potatoes are equally important to all of us, especially my brother and I. I mean, we would just eye the mashed potato bowl and like try to like place it near us like at the table. It was a very big deal. But thank you for tuning in. I did not pre-warn anybody to tag them, so I'm not going to tag anybody, but hopefully this is posted early enough where if you'd like to do it, you'll be able to go ahead and do your video too. Be sure to let me know when you do so I can check it out, and hopefully I'll see you back again. Vlogmas is coming, guys, so get ready. See you then.